How do I know that Gypsy and Ken are stuck in a toxic, narcissistic abuse cycle? It is because I have been in a relationship like that. And after being out of a relationship like that for several years and learning what it is about, I am able to now spot the signs so that I am not manipulated into another narcissistic, abusive type of relationship. But if you do not know how to spot the signs, it can be very easy to get caught up in the love bombing stage, which is the idealization stage, where the other person is fawning over you and making you feel like you are the best person in the world and like you guys are soulmates. Gypsy did this whenever she was in the Lifetime series with Ken. She talked about how much she loved him and how much she missed him and how much he broke her heart. She was idealizing him so that whenever he saw that clip, he would then become back to her and get back into the pattern of the abusive cycle. He doesn't see what's going on yet, or maybe he does because I can sense that he's really annoyed with her, so maybe he understands what's going on now, but I don't think he understood what was happening at the time. Whenever she made that comment on Lifetime, she did that for a reason because she had an idea that he might see that. So she wanted him to feel like he was the best thing and that he got away. They do this because they want you to feel important, validated, loved, admired, so that your defenses are taken down a little bit so they're able to hook you back in. If you did not see the clips of this, I put them in my video from yesterday. I accidentally deleted them and I can't find them in my deleted folder. Okay, I'm gonna go find them and I'm gonna add them to this video. Just give me a second.
Ask Ryan, I have always had a difficulty letting go of my ex-fiance, Ken. We were so connected at one time that I felt like he was a soulmate. And I think it started to wear on Ken, the amount of time that I had to do in prison and the stress of who I am as Gypsy Blanchard. I don't think that he knew how to deal with the popularity and the quote-unquote fame of that. So 3 years ago, he ended the relationship. It was devastating to me.
Facility. You may start the conversation now.
Hey, honey.
Hey, baby.
I just woke up not long ago, so my brain's a little foggy right now. Listen, I do my best to be honest with you. I do my best to tell you how I'm feeling in any given moment. I wanted to do the right thing and be upfront with you because I had a dream about my ex, and in that dream, I left you for my.
That right there was the idealization stage where Gypsy is romanticizing this relationship that she had with Ken, believing it to be better than it was, and trying to make Ken feel guilty for ending that relationship, therefore manipulating him into contacting her to either apologize or restart up this romance again. And you see it worked. So she's very good at manipulating the men that she chooses. The next stage in the narcissistic abuse cycle is the devaluation stage. This is when slowly over time, the narcissist begins taking jabs at you and undermining your self-worth. We saw this very clearly whenever she was with Ryan, and in an interview, she literally told him to shut up underneath her breath. It was very subtle. You could almost not hear it, but the interviewer heard it, and she ended up agreeing with Ryan to kind of soften the blow. So I'm going to add that video now, and then you can already see she's starting to do it again with Ken while she's interrupting him anytime he speaks, letting him know that his opinion is not valid or valued. It's not worth anything. Her opinion is the only opinion that matters, and people want to hear from her, not him.
How did that happen?
I went to school either.
You can barely hear it.
That's true. You. Oh, jeez.
I
God,
slowed it
got
down
old
so you can hear it.
quick. How did that happen?
You never went to school either.
Did you hear it?
Mm-hmm. That's true. You didn't go to.
Great.
Another question for Gypsy. Once your probation is over, what
It was very faint. You could almost not hear it, but if you listen really closely, you can hear her telling him to shut up. She was in the devaluation stage with Ryan at that particular point, and that's the stage that they are at right now with her relationship with Ken, and she is also in the hoovering stage with Ryan.
How's the baby? I mean, she's great. She's growing.
Hey, getting
She's
big.
got a few more months left. So do people think that we paid an actor to do a fake sonogram and put up fake pictures on the screen during?
Oh, no, they think that's all fake. They think that's all
we just
fake.
hired a bunch of actors to do all that for us.
So even though it's really subtle, her interrupting him when he's trying to talk and talking to the people in the live versus listening to what he has to say is a very, very subtle way of her devaluing him and his opinion and saying, your opinion doesn't matter. The only opinions that matter are the people who are talking to me through this live, giving me the love, admiration, and praise that I want. So after the devaluation stage, that's when the discarding stage comes. And that's when the narcissist is ready for new supply. They abruptly and brutally end the relationship. And we saw this in the way that she ended her relationship with Nicholas, throwing him under the bus as soon as they got arrested, and the way she ended her relationship with Ryan. If we need a recap on that, I will add a clip. She did not even say goodbye to Ryan. She just showed up at the house, packed her things, and never spoke to him again. And that's how narcissists end relationships. They simply just ghost you. It seemingly comes out of nowhere. And that's because the narcissist got already what she wanted out of him,
And all of a sudden now you're
he's
not.
no longer useful to her. Especially because she knows that Ken is reaching back out.
Tell me why.
Listen.
I don't know.
Look, I'm right here. Talk to me.
There's just sometimes that I feel like we're different people.
We are.
That's because the narcissist does not want you to have your own identity outside of theirs. And anytime you question the reality because you assert being your own person and not falling in line with everything that they want to do, you are now no longer useful to them, especially if you start creating boundaries within your relationship so that you actually have a healthy relationship. We saw what Gypsy did whenever Ryan asserted boundaries and said, I don't want you talking to your sister about our private sex life. She got angry and she flipped everything on him. Let's spin the block on that.
what I'm feeling right now is the same way that my mom made me feel whenever I would talk to people. Because
What?
don't talk to your dad. Don't tell him this. If I told my dad too much, she would act like you're acting.
Go. Right here.
So, of course, I'm being defensive because
Right here, man.
He needs to understand that I have been living my whole life in a cage. How I used to be with my mom, I felt powerless. When I am feeling powerless, my reaction is to take back control.
Now, keep in mind, all Ryan was trying to do was assert some boundaries, some healthy boundaries within their relationship and say, hey, Gypsy, I would prefer you not talk about these things on camera about our private life. There's nothing wrong with that. But the second he asserts any sort of boundaries, he becomes controlling, and now she's the victim again. You can constantly feel like you're walking on eggshells with these people. How do I know that Gypsy and Ken are stuck in a toxic, narcissistic abuse cycle? It is because I have. The hoovering stage is when the narcissist will try to come back to that particular source of supply and try to have some sort of a compelling reason why they need to talk to you, why they need to text you, why you need to get back together with them. They will even try to, fake apologize in order to smooth things out so that you feel comfortable having contact with them so that they can keep you as backup supply for when they are done with their current supply. We saw that a few times where she was going back and forth with Ryan in Life After Lockup, where she was telling Ryan that she missed him. And even on the Vile Files, as of recently, she said that she was trying to have a conversation with Ryan because they don't communicate often. Well, if you don't communicate often, how are you trying to have a civil conversation with him about what's going on if you don't communicate? Then she even went on to say that she's in a place of higher healing than he is, and that communication was not good for either of their healing. So it can't be one of three things. It can't be no communication, it can't be some communication, and it can't be a lot of communication. And if you take the narcissist back, you are going to start back over in the idealization stage, where they put you up on a pedestal and you feel like you are back in love with this person because they are giving you all the adoration and praise and admiration that you feel like you deserve all the time. And suddenly it's come back because this is how they got you in the first place, that love bombing stage where you just feel overwhelmed with love, appreciation. So if you are not sure how to tell if you are in a narcissistic relationship, the idealization stage typically moves really fast. You will feel like you are soulmates with this person. The relationship will feel really intense, and that strengthens the connection of that particular phase. That you will start quickly making like future plans, and this is called future faking. This is when they talk about how they want to marry you, they want kids with you, they want to travel with you. All of these things happens in the idealization phase, and it can sometimes feel too good to be true, and that's because it is. But they don't want you to notice that because they want you to fall victim to their narcissistic BS. The devaluation stage is when you start to feel isolated from your friends and family. And I mentioned this yesterday. We already see this happening with Ken and him being totally isolated from his family. There are periods of emotional absence or apathy from the other person. There will be subtle insults or jokes at your expense, and you can see that happening between Gypsy and Ken now. You will also feel like you are walking on eggshells to avoid setting this person off because it feels like you can't do anything right. It's like the way you talk, the way you move, the way you act, small things like not washing your hands could set them off. So you constantly are like walking on eggshells, not sure what you are going to do to set them off. So you essentially lose your own identity trying to make sure that you don't do anything that could enrage them or cause them to become raged at you. And you're going to experience intense jealousy, gaslighting, or controlling behavior during this devaluation stage. And we saw that very clearly in how Gypsy is treating Ken, how she treated Ryan, how she treated Nicholas. She may not be able to see these patterns because most often narcissists are not able to see their own patterns of behaviors. It is when somebody points it out to them that they start to feel attacked, and then they tell you that you're being controlling by pointing out something that they're doing wrong. So during the discarding phase, there can be even more devaluation. You could be given the silent treatment, or, you know, less conversations, or it can just be very short conversations and ghosting, just like no communication at all, which is exactly what happened between Gypsy and Ryan. She literally moved out in the middle of the night or middle of the day, and then just didn't even talk to him again. Which leads me to the next point, which is the sudden end to the relationship without much warning or discussion. Ryan had absolutely no clue what was happening until it happened. And then he's totally taken off guard and completely lost as to what went wrong. But really, like, he's thinking what he did wrong. And truthfully, Ryan didn't do anything wrong. Gypsy just was done using him for the purposes that she needed him for. And the hoovering stage is when that person will send like random text messages to just say hi, or checking up on you, or showing up in places that they know that you're going to be. Like when she went to that game, that LSU game, hoping that she was going to see him and create some sort of friction between Ryan and Ken. Or she will even send messages from someone else to him, this third party communication, this triangulation, and I believe that is what's happening between her and Nicholas. She may not be contacting Nicholas herself, but I do believe she has somebody triangulating messages to get to him to keep him under control. There'll be messages or pics reminiscing about the good old times that y'all were together, and I'm sure she did that to Ken a lot. Or there will be fake apologies. These apologies are not real. They want you to feel like they are sorry for whatever you feel like they need to be sorry for, but they're not sorry. They literally have absolutely no remorse for anything that they do. You are simply a pawn in their game to be used and used and used for as long as you will allow them to use you. The best way out of a narcissistic relationship, I'm going to have to do another video on that, but there is hope. I know sometimes there are reasons why people stay, like you're unable to leave because you don't have any of your finances, but there is hope to create a path for you to get out of this relationship. If you like content like this, please put it in the comments below. If you have seen some of these patterns that maybe I didn't even notice and you saw them, please tell me so that I can use them in my next video. I really enjoy talking about this particular subject because I have spent probably well over 30 years in narcissistic abusive relationships, and so talking about it helps me to heal and not feel like I'm crazy, because for so long in these types of relationships I have felt like I was losing my mind trying to please this other person that was impossible to please. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be updated whenever I make new content. If there is something that you'd like for me to talk about, please put it in the comments below. There is so much to go over, and I can use anybody as an example, but because I have been talking about Gypsy and it's so easy to see her narcissistic behavior in this relationship, it just came kind of natural for me to talk about her. But if you'd like for me to talk about anybody else, just let me know.